When an oil spill occurs, people working on or near the ocean who know about the area must be able to act quickly and effectively. This video presents methods to control and recover spilled oil using only a few workers in small boats. Ideally, when oil leaks into the ocean, it must be cleaned up completely before it has a chance to drift onto the shore. There are several methods to efficiently recover sea-heavy oil with high viscosity, as well as oil from large-scale oil slicks. An oil skimming net is laid out using small boats. Each net stretches 10 meters in length. If necessary, they can be linked together to stretch as long as 30 to 40 meters. Once the net is laid out to the necessary length, the other end is passed over to another boat. Two boats pull the net so it forms a U shape. It can now control the oil in waves as high as 1.5 meters and currents moving less than 2 knots. As the oil is being controlled, the net can be towed to where the oil will be recovered, such as on a dike or another boat. Next is a simple method to recover small amounts of oil with low viscosity at bulwarks or tetrapots where the waves are calm. A long pole is inserted through the center of an oil-sorbent roll. A rope is attached to both ends of the pole to tow the roll. The rope is passed over to a small boat and the roll is dropped into the water. Once it settles, the sheets are fed out from the roll. A worker can also secure one end of the rod to a nearby pile or telephone pole. When winds are strong, oil-sorbent sheets are easier to use. When they are not available, oil-sorbent rolls can be folded into squares and used. The oil-absorbing mats can be cut and then tied together to form the length required. There is no risk of oil leaking from the sheets tied together. No more than 2 sheets can be tied together. Otherwise, they would be too cumbersome to tow smoothly. A stack of folded material can be pulled smoothly without flying away, even in winds of over 10 meters per second. The oil-sorbent sheet is pulled to form an enclosure around the floating oil slick. Then, small boats or a combination of a small boat and a worker on land can pull in the enclosure at a slow speed of less than 0.5 knots. Here is one method used to gather and recover oil. It uses a small oil recovery frame. Oil is scooped into the frame. When the oil slick becomes thick enough, it can then be recovered. When the oil scooped into the frame becomes heavier than water, the oil pushes the water out from under the frame, leaving only the oil inside the frame. A wire mesh can be laid on top of the frame. Then the oil can be separated from garbage and other debris. Water containing the oil and garbage is scooped into the frame. The wire mesh is lifted out first, and the garbage and debris are taken away with it. Then oil sorbent pads are thrown into the frame to absorb the oil, and then the oil is scooped out later. It is very difficult to scoop out the oil from the frame directly into drum cans on shore. The oil can make the wharf or embankment quite slippery, so great care must be taken. When it is time to remove the oil skimming net or the oil sorbent rolls, a large plastic sheet is laid out on the bulwark or wharf. 2 pieces of rope are laid across it. Heavy sacks filled with sawdust are placed on the corners to keep the sheets in place. Nets and rolls enclose the oil and they are pulled towards the recovery point. The oil-absorbing nets or roll sheets are folded on top of the ropes in lengths of about 2 meters. This makes it easier to load them onto a truck. The nets or sheets are tied together with the ropes. Workers use hook poles to fold the oil booms or oil sorbent rolls in lengths of about 2 meters. This makes them easier to handle and keeps the surrounding work area clean and prevents pollution. With the push of a small boat, they are bundled together with ropes. Then a crane is used to load them onto a truck. Sawdust is spread over the plastic sheet and the wharf or bulwark to help clean up the residual oil. Sawdust is especially useful for cleaning up oil remaining on bulwarks, wharves, and ship decks. When an oil slick approaches a port or harbor, the mouths of the breakwater and other entrance points must be shut as soon as possible. This is most effective if the mouth of the breakwater measures within 100 meters. In this case, a form of what is called an endless rope is used. A rope containing eyelets is strung through 4 pulleys. Then, one end of the oil sorbent roll or oil boom is hooked onto one of the eyelets. These can be shifted back and forth. This is an endless rope connected to a reel. A weight is attached to a rope and thrown to the other side. A rope attached to one end of the endless rope is sent to the other side. Then the endless rope is stretched across. The end of the endless rope is fixed to a high location. After one end of the endless rope is in place, the other end is also tied to something. A rope containing a carabiner is tied to the end of the oil sorbent roll. The carabiner is hooked onto an eyelet on the endless rope. The oil sorbent roll is then dropped into the ocean. The endless rope is pulled in order to stretch the oil sheet across to the other side. This will block the mouth of the breakwater. When a ship needs to pass, the endless rope can be hauled up so the ship can pass under the rope. The roll sheet can be easily replaced. It can be laid in layers as well. would now like to show some examples of ways to clean up polluted oil on bulwarks and tetrapots. These can be used to clean up oil with high and low viscosity. To prevent the oil that is washed off from drifting away, an oil boom is placed on the front side of the washing target. The boom must be anchored partway along its length to make it into a suitable shape for the tide or current. A worker washes oil off the target while standing on land and using a small fire pump and sends the washed-off oil back out to sea. A better way is to use deck brushes to scrub the bulwark. If it is difficult to approach the oil pollution site from land, a fire pump on a small boat can be used to clean away the oil. The oil can also be washed away from tetrapots or bulwarks with a hose. High viscosity oil, or the mousse-like sludge oil which has been washed off, can be recovered using an oil sorbent. Small boats pull the oil sheet toward the oil boom, collecting and recovering the oil along the way. Finally, we will show a specific recovery system for when a widespread oil slick approaches the shore. This recovery system can recover both high and low viscosity oil. An oil recovery frame is set into the water. The horizontal slit is the opening where the oil will come into the frame. Two oil booms are set at 60 to 90 degree angles. The workers can now wait for the power of the wind or the currents to bring the oil slick to within reach. The layers of oil that have entered the frame will be even thicker. The recovered oil can be removed by using an air pump and transferred to drum cans. Moreover, the oil can also be driven into the frame using a fire pump on a small boat from the opposite side. Thick layers of oil can be recovered using oil-absorbing sheets. Solidifiers can be used to make the oil layer solid. When no oil can be seen, the remaining water in the drum can be returned to the sea. We have just shown you ways in which you can use only a few workers and small boats to control and recover oil. You must remember, however, that some types of oil are extremely dangerous. It would be hazardous to approach them. In addition, walking around on polluted oil that has drifted to shore could spread the pollution on land. Therefore, the most important thing for you to do is determine the type of oil that has spilled. Then, in order to minimize further risk and damage, you should select the safest and most efficient methods to recover it.